Welcome, everyone, to SI Media with Jimmy Traina. Thank you so much for listening. We have an excellent episode for those of you who are sports media nerds like myself. Andrew Marchand from The Athletic and his own little media industry there with his podcast and his Substack. He joins me to go through a bunch of sports media news, cover all the latest, a lot of stuff on streaming, NFL streaming, MLB and ESPN having some issues, Joe Buck, Tom Brady, a lot of stuff with Andrew Marchand, who, of course, is the big newsbreaker in the sports media field. Of course, following Marchand, Sal Licata joins me for our Traina Thoughts segment. A lot of stuff on the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. Before I get to it, usually we get right into the episode, but I just want to take a quick minute here to mention World of Isaac, also known as, well, he's Andy Isaac, known as the World of Isaac on Twitter. A lot of you listening probably know Andy as the World of Isaac from Twitter. He's been one of the more popular sports people on Twitter over the years. He put out a message on Twitter on Tuesday. He's been battling cancer for many, many years, I think since 2006, he said. And unfortunately, his health has deteriorated in a way that has really affected his way of life and his quality of life. So he's said he was moving into hospice. And I'll tell you, the internet, it's a really weird thing, because a lot of you who are listening to this remember me back from the old days of Hot Clicks, which was like 2007 to 2013. It's crazy how long ago that was. And it was a lot of people read that column, and it was the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I loved that whole period. And Andy at the time had a blog, I believe it was, a website, and would often send me links to put in the column. And I would, and that's sort of, we became internet, friendly that way. And then of course, Twitter came along, and then, you follow Andy, Andy follows me, and you have banter. And, his last few years on Twitter, he did a lot of stuff with food, and I would always sort of get a kick out of that stuff. And, we interacted a lot on Twitter. So I wanted to just mention his post here and his situation. Like I said, it's a weird thing. Never met him in person. I don't think we ever spoke on the phone, ever had a sort of, voice to voice phone call. It was all through email, Twitter. And, you end up really liking someone, even though you don't know them. And it's crazy how, when I saw that post about him going to hospice, it really shook me up. And it's crazy. I'm not smart enough to articulate why that happens, but just awful, sad, heartbreaking news there. So just wanted to give him a shout out and hope he finds some comfort and some peace here with his tragic health situation. All right. So yeah, World of Isaac on Twitter. I'm sure you guys know him. And if you want to leave him a comment on his tweet, if you haven't, I'm sure his family's looking at that. And I know I'm looking now here. He's got 37,000 likes on that tweet. So that just shows you he affected a lot of people with just being fun and humorous on Twitter, which is not what it is anymore. So, I see him, whenever I do see him tweet, it takes me back to when Twitter was fun and lighthearted, and he was the epitome of that. So we give a shout out there to Andy Isaac, also known as the World of Isaac, on Twitter. All right, let's get to this week's episode. Andrew Marchand, followed by Sal Licata and Traina Thoughts, all right here, right now. All right, joining me now, SI Media podcast regular, been a regular for a long, long time, breaks all the sports media stories from The Athletic and his own podcast and his own Substack. He'll give the proper plugs. Andrew Marchand. Andrew, how are you?
Hey, Jimmy, always a pleasure.
You want to tell everyone where they can find your stuff?
Sure. Properly? So The Athletic, number one, go to The Athletic for breaking news, columns, long stories. And then I have my own podcast, andrewmarchand.com is where you subscribe twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Recently had Peter King on, Adam Schefter. This week we have your friend, my friend, John Orand. As the
Should I tell the Peter King story?
You can. It was nice of you. I mean, you
I
could have.
thought,
I told Peter he could do it. I didn't. I didn't block it. Let's put it.
well,
I thought I was all brilliant and smart when I was like, I'm going to get Peter King on the podcast the dead week of the Super Bowl. You know, first Super Bowl that Peter's not been to in probably a billion years, first year of retirement. All right, this is perfect. I'll get Peter, no problem. And I emailed Peter and he writes back and he said, I just did Marchand's podcast. So that was a kick to the groin.
He could have done both. It would have been fine.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is what it is. And then you had Schrager make news on your podcast. That went everywhere about Good Morning Football being a bunch of cheapskates.
Yeah, he was great. Schrager was great. I think that was out there. I mean, the way the internet works now, there's an old joke. When I was at ESPN, I broke that the Mets Citi Field was getting the All-Star game, and it was broken like 4 or 5. I was at ESPN. It wasn't like a little small place I was at. It was broken 4 or 5 times after that. That was at Citi Field. Adam Rubin, my former colleague at ESPN, used to always tweet out, "This was broken 3 years ago," but. But that's how the internet works now. You got something good, it just kind of recycles a couple years later.
Well, there's the initial break, and then there's the official, you know, then the league, but you know, whoever sends out the official press release.
So when these things are broken again, I don't know if the people I could name the names on that one, but I won't. But I don't know if they'd have access.
Oh, please, please.
Nah, I don't want to get to that one.
Damn it.
Not worth it.
Well, let me start. So we mentioned Schrager, he's the perfect podcast guest, so I'm not surprised he hit it out of the park for you. You were in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Give me a little feel. Did it feel like every other Super Bowl? Did it? You know, Mad Dog was saying he thought Radio Row was kind of dead, especially on later in the week. He thought he was surprised that there wasn't more buzz there. Give me your whole New Orleans Super Bowl experience.
So my experience is a little bit different than maybe others because I'm really working and meeting with people and doing a lot of things, writing a lot of stories. So I'm at Radio Row a little bit, but I'm not there all the time. So I don't know. It seemed similar to past years when I was there. Swarms of people, and I don't know. I thought there was a buzz there. I think New Orleans is a good host city because you could walk. It was a little warm, so that was for people. You're walking around a lot, and I mean, I felt fine, but it was mid to high 70s, which obviously is very nice for a lot of us right now, and it's freezing up here in the north and all over the country for that matter. But yeah, I thought New Orleans was good. Now I disagree with Mad Dog. He's been to more Super Bowls than I've gone maybe the last 7 years or so. So, but New Orleans, you like the walking city when you're there. Vegas the year before, the NFL liked it. I think they were going to go back. I didn't really like Vegas for my purposes, just because Vegas, you look on Google Maps that something's 500 feet away from you, and it takes 20 minutes because you got to walk through casinos and figure it out. Yep, and then I turned wrong twice. And so for someone who's working, not great. If you're going as a fan and visiting and having fun, yeah, great place.
That's so funny because I remember when I first started going to Vegas 100 years ago. My first year, I was like, wait, why? To go from hotel to hotel takes a half hour. It was ridiculous, because
you're trying to work. Yeah, and you're trying to schedule stuff too.
Well, when I first started going with my friends, we wanted to check every casino and see which is the best casino, and to get to casino to casino was a trek. You think, oh, it's right next, because oh, this is right next door, and it's taking a half hour to get there. So
exactly,
I could see that. This is really inside sports media, but were media people who were there and wanted to attend the Fox media conference pissed that they decided to not have Tom Brady there?
I think there was disappointment. Fox made Brady available on a conference call with the other people on the broadcast the day before. I think they, generally speaking, the Super Bowl media press conference is on Tuesday. This year they had it on Thursday. I don't know the exact reason, but I know there was some sort of scheduling, something happened there. And so it was on Thursday. Then they had that ran into, I think, with the Eagles. It was at 1:00 local time. It ran into the Eagles and stuff they're doing in terms of prep. And so that's why he wasn't there. But I kind of think he should be there. It's Tom Brady.
Do you think, I'm going to ask you to speculate, and you'll probably say you don't want to do that, but
this is the question I want answered more than anything. Do you think Fox is protecting and shielding Brady because it's Fox's idea or it's Brady's camp who's sort of calling those shots?
I think it's Fox's idea. You mean in terms of the whole year, him not doing interviews?
Yeah, and even then, they wouldn't even make him available to Super Bowl. I mean, they made him available to us.
I think that was a little more coincidental. I think the Super Bowl thing was a little more. I'll take him on face value. I have no reason to believe they were.
They couldn't put him on video for us?
Yeah, I thought they should be on video too. I did mention that to somebody at Fox. Yeah, there's something about they're in different places or something, but I don't know.
They're terrified to have him do interviews for some reason.
Well, I think partly because of you with Aikman. I think that you did the interview with Aikman where he kind of ripped Fox before he left. He kind of criticized him a little bit.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I think that did happen. Maybe
what does that have to do with
Brady? Well, I don't think they really love like podcasts and all. They just think it causes trouble.
Well, no, but you were able to get every Fox person until this year. Burkhardt used to come on every year.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I would say
Greg Olson does a million. They should be mad about Greg Olson, not Troy Aikman 3 years ago with me.
I would say if you want my 2 cents, I think Brady would have helped him. He doesn't have to do every podcast. He doesn't have to do your podcast, my podcast, every podcast. Right. But I think doing a couple during the season, saying I'm working hard, I'm trying to learn, having some fun with it. The question you have to ask about Tom Brady, and this is a larger question, and I know a lot of people who know him pretty well, and so it kind of there's different opinions of how much personality he has. And is he, this is an example, as someone who covered the Yankees, is he more closer to Jeter, who's very natural, or A-Rod, who's not and kind of contrived? And I think he might be somewhere in the middle. Not that I'm not comparing him as people, as a person. Like, I don't know. From everybody I talk to who's worked with him, they rave about the guy, how good he is to work with, how he knows everyone's name, et cetera, et cetera. So he seems like a very good guy. But does he have the personality to relate and off the cuff? Because, and even like, I don't know if you've subscribed to his newsletter.
I do.
But he's doing a newsletter. And you wouldn't subscribe to that unless you were covering this, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you get the newsletter and he's talking about
it's free. So
it's free. And
if I had to pay, I wouldn't subscribe to Tom Brady's newsletter, even if I was covering this.
Fair. I don't think I would either. But he talked about resetting in the off season and gets with his team. It's not very relatable. None of us are really resetting. I mean, we all say after the new year, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to eat healthier, yada yada yada. But there's not a 10-person Jimmy Traina team saying, how are we going to make this better for you? So I think that's where, is he relatable? I think Romo, especially when he first came out, was kind of relatable. He just seemed excited about being there. Not that Brady's not. He is. Just, part of the reason he probably was a more successful quarterback is because he was more programmed than Tony Romo.
I also think, and if someone disagreed with this take, I would understand that. This is just how I feel. I do think when you hit a certain level of money and fame, it is impossible to be relatable. 100%. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault. He's not doing anything wrong. And like you said, I'm sure he tries to be relatable. But it just can't be. You just can't be. When you're at that
I agree.
level.
If you think about it, when do you think the last time Tom Brady took a commercial flight was? 15 years, 20 years, I don't know, maybe a little less, but he was married to Gisele Bündchen. He's considered the greatest quarterback of all time. I think his fame did grow. I mean, he is interesting because he was a 6th-round pick, and even though he did win a national championship where he was the co-quarterback with Drew Henson, he wasn't a number 1 pick, so it kind of grew. It wasn't like Peyton Manning, number 1 pick, and was supposed to be and then ended up being one of the great quarterbacks of all time. It was different that way for him. But yes, I agree. And he has teams of people, avocado ice cream. It's just not normal. It's not, I'm not like dissing him. It's just
no
living a normal life. It's impossible. Like you said, it's impossible. And also the other thing is people treat you differently. And even like you talked about the Fox not letting him they let Olsen do interviews. I would have let him do some interviews just because I think you also make it, even though I cover this, you cover this, so we take it seriously. But you also don't want to make it too serious. And I think that was a mistake.
This basketball season, when your favorite stars score buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, points, assists, rebounds, blocks, and much more. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at the NBA and picking Luka Doncic for higher on basically all of his stats, but especially points, rebounds. I think Luka will be motivated after the big trade. The narrative out there is that he's out of shape. He doesn't work hard. And I think that's going to push something in Luka. So I'm looking at him here on Underdog to go higher, especially points and rebounds. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code Sports Illustrated. Unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with the promo code Sports Illustrated. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Listen, if the fear is that they don't want him going on any show, like I said, it doesn't have to be you, me, or whoever, whatever, and they don't want him getting bombarded with questions maybe about his personal life, I can understand that. But they can set some limits on that. If they came to me and said,
if you had him on, would you ask him about his personal life?
Would I? No. But would other podcasters maybe bring up the fact that he's divorced or single? Maybe. I don't, I could see people going, because whatever you ask him in that spot is going to get picked up.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're right. I guess that's true.
But again,
if I had Tom Brady on, I don't think I'd be asking about his personal life. Like, what, are you dating anybody? And even if you did, though, I still think, and this is where it's the relatability, and if you're relaxed and you don't have a team writing out your tweets and kind of figuring out what you're doing, you sort of can answer the question. You can kind of make a joke. There's a couple of things, and that's where you get to the A-Rod and Jeter. I think Jeter, although he hates that stuff, and if you know him, he doesn't like that at all. He'd be able to sort of diffuse it a little bit more than A-Rod would just say kind of the same. He kind of says the same thing over and over. Same similar jokes over.
Listen, this. We have ways to sort of ask a question to get, like, would I say to Tom Brady, are you dating or how's your personal life? No. But let's say he came on this podcast today. Now, I don't know if I would do it, but someone might say, hey, what did you do for Valentine's Day? Or how did you celebrate Valentine's? I mean, there are ways where
exactly. But he should be able to answer that.
Agreed.
He didn't get paid $375 million because he's so great on his feet.
Right.
But he is a number one broadcaster on a NFL. This did the Super Bowl. If someone asked you what you did for Valentine's Day, you should be able to answer the question.
But also, what kills me about it is he did like a 2.5 hour interview, close to 3 hour interview with Howard Stern during COVID. It was probably like middle of 2020. 2.5 hours. And he was phenomenal.
Yep.
So I know there's a good interview there to be done. It's just, we've spent way too much time on Brady. But and you're not a fan of his work. Did you hear from Fox after your Super Bowl review, which was harsh?
I always hear from Fox.
Okay.
So
see, I never hear from people. I always have you telling me. Like, I had no idea the Aikman interview was a thing, and now you're telling me. No one comes to me to tell me. I don't understand.
I mean, that's not official, so don't take that official. Now I'll probably hear from Fox. Why'd you say that? But I don't think they were thrilled with Aikman. That year now we're back in 2021. Go look at the archives when you had Aikman on, I think, during the season. So 2021, he leaves in 2022. So I think I don't think they were that, to me, they weren't that strong. but I don't think Fox liked them. He said something. There's something in there. You got to go back. They made some headlines. I remember.
Good for me. All right. Speaking of Aikman, let's transition to his broadcast partner, Joe Buck. You broke the news this week. Joe, it's a one-shot deal, opening day, Yankees Brewers. I texted Joe and I said, this has to open the door for you to do the wild card round, but he said, you got to know the teams. You're taking a job away from someone else. So this definitely sounds like, I don't know, maybe he would do another game somewhere here or there, but we're not going to get that much Joe Buck. It's like a special, he called himself, he said to me, he's the Barbra Streisand of baseball broadcasting, doing the one, I'm never going to do it. And then he does one shot, but.
He said that. I didn't use that quote. It was confusing to me. It's like a very old reference.
But I'm old, so. Give us some background here. Was it hard? Because Joe has said over the years numerous times he's never doing it. He said it here. Was it? Do you know? Was it difficult for ESPN to get him to agree to do it, or was it smooth sailing?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with who asked him. Mark Gross is a senior VP. They just had a reorg. ESPN reorgs every couple of days, and so they reorged the chart up top. And Gross was overseeing baseball, and he works on the NFL. He just asked him. And then for Joe, I think he might have said yes, but the fact it was at Yankee Stadium, defending AL champions, the Brewers, I think, and I do think the first game makes it easier. I think what people don't get, like when someone walks away, and this is always hard, like we're all very fortunate to be in sports. But if you're Joe Buck and you're doing baseball, and even if they give you a sweetheart schedule where you come in and start doing games in August and then do some playoff games, you still got to pay attention. If you want to do a good job, sure. And I get it. There are people listening right now who say, I watch every game and I know and that might be true for 1 out of 10 of you out there who's a really diehard who knows everything. And I don't doubt that. However, there's a difference between having to and wanting to. There are things I have to watch that I don't necessarily want to watch. Maybe I don't watch the whole thing, but I got to check it out. Like, do I watch the whole All-Star game the other day? And not many people did, apparently, but I did check it out because I just wanted to see the new format, see what TNT was doing. And so did I watch every second of it? No, but I watched a good 60% of the broadcast. And so if you're Joe Buck, you got to pay attention if you're going to do these games. So I think, could he do opening day? There's another story if ESPN's even going to have baseball a year from now. But if, let's say, ESPN has baseball a year from now, could he do another opening day? I think that's conceivable. Could he do could it open the door for a little bit more? I think it's not out of the question no matter what he said, but I don't think it's very likely necessarily.
Right. Yeah, it could be like 1 or 2 games a year. I could say a special occasion. Well, you mentioned it, and I was going to bring this up. Explain to people what exactly is going on with ESPN, Major League Baseball, and this opt-out, and what it means for them.
Okay, so in March, ESPN can opt out of its current deal with Major League Baseball, in which they do Sunday Night Baseball, the Home Run Derby. They get the first round of the playoffs. They pay $550 million. There's 2 years after this one left on the deal. MLB is not happy about this. The time the deal came around, they re-upped. ESPN dropped how much they were paying them from 700 plus to the 550 number, which was added because then you added, and that including adding the playoffs. So they were not happy. They're seeing all these other leagues with the increase. They're getting a decrease. So now the opt-out comes up. Like I was told from another network executive from a different network than ESPN, it'd be fiscally irresponsible for ESPN not to opt out. If you look at the Roku deal that...
I'm confused because I'm dumb.
Yep.
Major League Baseball's not happy with the deal. You said
no.
Okay.
ESPN, they're not happy with ESPN wanting to opt out.
Oh, okay. I got.
They're not.
Okay.
The owners are saying, why is the NFL getting $110 billion? Why is the NBA getting $76 billion and we're going backwards?
And ESPN wants to opt out, or possibly wants to opt out, because they think they're paying too much.
Yes. Which I think if you look at it, I don't really see how you could look at it any other way than they're paying too much. Now, MLB, I had a story of Evan Drellich in The Athletic in which MLB we had officials saying that if ESPN opts out, they're likely not going to talk. Now that could just be saber rattling. Don't blame the messenger here, but I think this is real. There's a real friction here. I think Jimmy Pitaro, chairman of ESPN, is a huge baseball fan. His sister works in the commissioner's office. I think they've had a good relationship, but I think right now heads are butting. And do they get someplace? I'm not positive.
I was going to say, tell me if this is too simplistic of a statement. If ESPN opted out, wouldn't one of the streamers give them $550 million for Sunday Night Baseball and the Home Run Derby and the meaningless All-Star game?
Well, they don't have the All-Star game, but they...
Or what was the other event? Home Run Derby. The first round, the wild card.
The wild cards, but
that's the significant part of that.
That's the thing that, like, if I were to talk to the owners and like, what's the difference between this inventory and what the NBA and the NFL is that when you look at what the ESPN paid for the NFL, they got Super Bowls. You look at the for the NBA, they have the finals every year. So there's a major difference than between having these wild card games that never, very rarely have gone to the third deciding game, and so that's an issue. So that's number one. And so to answer your question, I don't know if anybody's paying $550 million. Maybe. Like, here's the other issue that MLB has with this opt-out is that there's only 2 years left in the deal. And then 2028 is when the World Series with Fox and TBS's deals come up. So they all come up then. So you're not going to want to do another contract that goes past there. So could Amazon or somebody like make a deal thinking, you know what, in 2028 we'll make even a better deal? Yeah, that's possible.
Baseball's in an interesting situation there because I'm just thinking about it as you're speaking. The whole appeal for the sports networks going to streaming, besides the ridiculous money they get paid, is it's a totally, it's not a little, it's a significantly younger audience. Whereas baseball's audience is old. And that could be the audience that does not go to streaming and follow. If it'd be interesting if baseball, forget regular season, because that's all a waste of time and nonsense anyway. But if they put the wild card round on Netflix or Amazon, I'd love to know if the baseball fan follows it there, like they followed the NFL so far, and I guess other places, other sports have done well on streaming here and there, but that audience could be the one that doesn't go over, and then that's a major problem.
Yeah, and look, there's a larger issue for MLB that's really kind of hovering all of this. ESPN would maybe just threaten to opt out and stay in if they got access to the local rights, meaning that on their new ESPN direct-to-consumer product, which will come out in August, which will mean that you'll be able to get ESPN without cable or satellite or YouTube or any of those things, just directly get ESPN. If they could have something where they could have a surcharge where Jimmy Traina could get, ideally they'd want the Yankee games. That's probably not realistic at the moment. But the Twins games, this is an add-on that you pay $5, $10 a month extra on top of your ESPN DTC. I think that they would be interested in that. There have been, as far as I've been told, no discussions on doing that. And so that's the play. If Amazon somehow, which I don't think they're going $550 million, but let's just say they somehow got in there, I think the reasoning would be get in with baseball. So then when eventually it's probably going to go to, at least that's what Rob Manfred wants, to go to some sort of streaming direct-to-consumer deal. The problem also, let me just get to one other larger point that's a little inside baseball, but I know it annoys you, and is that once you go to streaming, like the Yankees, is that when you can't, the national packages for the regular season get ruined because it's only an annoyance that the Yankees are on Apple 4 times a year. Now, their deal with Amazon, to me, makes more sense because it's every week. Now, you might not like it that you have to pay for it, but at least it's consistent. Wednesdays, Amazon game. And if you're Jimmy Traina, you know where to turn if you want to watch that game. And you probably have Amazon because of Thursday Night Football and you million packages. And I think that one makes more sense. And then Roku is free on Sundays. They get a couple of games. So the point being is that
I thought you were going to say a couple of viewers.
Maybe that too. But it's free. So there's really no, obviously the technological and not knowing about it, even though Roku's a big deal. overall. It's just, people maybe don't realize those games are there, but it's free. So I don't think you really can complain about that.
Just for the record, because I know someone's listening to this and they're going to send me a nasty tweet. I have Prime, and my issue with the Yankees on Prime is not the money, because I'm already paying for Amazon Prime, but I am not watching a 3-hour baseball game on Amazon Streaming where I can't change the channels and flip around. So that's
you don't watch. Wednesdays, no watching for Jimmy.
Never out. Sorry.
Do you listen to the radio? What do you, or you just skip it?
Skip it. And again,
and are you there every other night, weekdays, or
yeah. When they're on Yes, or Fox, or FS1, or ESPN, or who else? TBS. Who else airs baseball?
Yeah, but you couldn't have an iPad with you, or
not watching a game on an iPad.
No. You have the game on the TV, and then there's a commercial. You flip on the iPad.
No. Not watching a 3-hour baseball game where I can't flip the channels.
All right.
And as Jeff Passan said on this podcast last year, he said he heard the ratings viewership for the Yankees on Amazon is not low, but low. So it's not just that.
Well, so if you're based, let's get back to our issue at hand.
Yeah.
If you're based,
I just don't want you making me out to be the monster here, but go ahead.
How did I make you the monster?
Because I refuse to watch the Yankees on Amazon. You had some shade in your voice. You were a little judgmental.
Well, no, I didn't know I know your MO about these games on streaming.
Right.
And so we learned something here, that even though you have Amazon, you refuse to watch it.
Absolutely. I'm not watching the Yankees on a Wednesday night in the middle of the summer for 3 hours, right? That's not happening.
Listen,
sorry.
Everyone has their hill they have to stand on. And some people are protesting, things are going on in politics.
It's not even a protest. It's just not how I want. I don't want to watch games on streaming services. And don't say, well, you watch the NFL. That's a whole different ballgame.
Explain.
I don't need to flip the channels during an NFL game, except during the commercials. Baseball is so much downtime. I don't lock in and sit there. You've got to bounce around a little.
I get. I'm not really defending. Well, this is okay. So we'll move on from this, because this is the point I want to make. That if I'm baseball, I want to be in business with ESPN. I think that
100%.
I think yes, you could make it. There's definitely a case that the streamers are coming, but the problem for baseball, if you ask me, is that, well, number one, that one of the big fights about the number that ESPN is paying, is that they did these deals with Apple, which is about $90 million, part of its commercials for the Friday doubleheaders, and then it's a Roku is only $10 million. So ESPN's $550, $90, $10. Now ESPN's better, but is it 5 times better than Apple's packages? Is it? I don't know. You do the percentages.
Right. No, I got you.
It's so, and they say those are experiments, but the problem, if I'm baseball and I'm thinking about this, I keep saying I have experiments. Well, which experiment has worked? Right? They had games on Facebook. They've had games on what was Twitter at the time. They've had games on
YouTube.
They've had games on, you're telling me Amazon. I've heard Apple ratings. I don't know them for sure. I've heard Apple ratings are not good at all. So I'd be a little careful getting out of business with ESPN if I'm them. Because the thing about ESPN is when people go to it, they're looking for sports.
Right.
And yes, Amazon's work with the NFL. I do think it will probably do pretty well with the, not regular season won't probably do very well, but postseason, big games will do well, I think.
But is it Manfred's grand plan to get these teams on streaming services, though, on a local basis? Like he doesn't
that's the thing. So that's what ESPN wants in on. If I were to tell them what to do, I think the thing is, and I've said this many times on my podcast and others, and it's not like some saying I made up, but these places are all chasing money. And I think when you chase money, you make mistakes because you're trying to get that old money, and that old money's gone. That RSN money is gone. And so they want a check. They want big checks. So that's why I have no idea, and I haven't been told, and I haven't, why would you do this Roku $10 million deal? Not that Roku is not a good service. It is. It makes sense. It's free. It's.
I find it. I personally, this is just me. I find it embarrassing and degrading for Major League Baseball that they have to be on Roku. They've got to have a better partner than Roku at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'm sorry.
Well, because when you say, yeah, maybe you can make that point. But then you have to say, okay, well, they did it for the money. But then Evan Drellich was the one who broke it at The Athletic. It's $10 million.
Right.
A year.
Right.
There's 30
Well,
teams. There's 30 teams.
Right.
Jimmy, that's 300 grand.
That's what I'm saying. Baseball, they need the money that bad.
That's
It's
not
fast.
even gonna. What
Right.
I think the rookie salary, it was like 500 when I covered. It's probably like 750 now. So it's not
The
even
Yankees make
covering
more
a-
from parking in one game than they do from that.
Yeah, beer. They make more from.
It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All right. Let's stay with the streaming
So
here.
let me just say one last thing.
Go ahead,
They
go ahead.
reset the market. They reset the market. Well, that's ESPN's argument. The argument for MLB is that no, those are just experiments. They don't count. Okay, so that's why they're complaining.
Yeah, I don't blame No, I don't blame ESPN for being pissed.
And they have the opt out. So why would you use it? That's why you have opt out.
Right, they have all the power. Listen, MLB needs ESPN way more than ESPN needs MLB.
And they also have a good situation because Pitaro loves baseball. Like you can get somebody who doesn't like baseball. I know you can say, well, that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter, maybe, but I think it does a little bit. The people at top, they like the sport. It helps you.
All right. Speaking of the streaming, this whole thing with the Netflix has been an NFL. It's been fascinating to watch because someone from Netflix, the chief content officer, went on a podcast and I guess was asked during a rapid fire segment about like, would you want to be in business with the NFL on Sunday afternoons? And they said yes. That was like the extent of it. And then it got aggregated. I know Pro Football Talk wrote an article. Even Oran tweeted when he was plugging the varsity, Netflix exec expresses interest in Sunday afternoon NFL games. So then it became this big thing where every blog, every website, everyone said, NFL Sunday afternoon is going to go to Netflix. Then the pendulum went completely the other way, and there was all this backlash. Nobody heard the quotes. Nobody listened to the podcast. That's not what they said, etc. Now, listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Netflix is going to be a major player for NFL games. And I have said basically the entire football season that the days of CBS and Fox are going to be numbered sooner than people think. But it sounds like pump the brakes, but it's still going to end up happening eventually. That's basically the
moral of the story.
The way people digested the story and reacted to the story was more important. It was more amusing than the story, as it turned out.
Yeah, the moral of the story is now Fox is right not to put Tom Brady on podcasts.
Right. Look what happens.
What happens.
Well, if he was on the podcast, that clip would have been like no one saw this clip of the Netflix or heard it.
Yeah, Matt Blahny's.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a dick, but if Brady said something on my podcast, people would have heard it.
He's a pretty big Hollywood guy.
Yeah, no, I know, but where was the clip?
No, I agree.
Nowhere.
Oran had it in his newsletter. That's how I knew about it originally. And so, so to answer your question, is there a question, or we're just what you want me to comment on what you said?
The question is, everyone overblew that story, and the executive wasn't like, okay, we're going to go after a Sunday package right now. But you would agree, eventually that's going to happen.
So this is what I said on my podcast. And now this is not, I don't like to get into like conjecture, conspiracy, but I did go out a little bit saying this. So this is conjecture. I'm not saying this definitely happened, but
we'll cut that part out when we clip it and then just go with it. Go ahead, go.
In the 3, 2, in the NFL contracts, they have clauses that if a network changes ownership, they can reopen their deals. So what network is right now in the middle of a new ownership most likely is going to happen? CBS. Right. What do they have? Sunday afternoons. Yep. What did Netflix content say? Interested in Sunday afternoons. I'm not saying that she was put up to it. I'm just saying that if you believe in, and I find that most people play these networks, these leagues, they play more checkers than chess. Okay, I just want to put that out there. But if you want to put a little more leverage in Netflix, hey, do me a favor. Say you're interested in the Sunday afternoon games, because two things. The only way Netflix could get a bite of the Sunday afternoon games in the near future is with this clause, which I think CBS is going to keep the games from everything I've been told.
I thought though that there was some opt out for the
NFL. In 2029 and 2030.
Right.
So after the 2029 season.
Yeah, that's wait.
That's not tomorrow, Jimmy.
No, but be fair. If in the 2029 season, Fox or CBS lost the Sunday afternoon package to Netflix, that would still be a major. Like when I say to people, it's coming.
Story,
Right.
but
When I say it's coming sooner than later, I mean 2029. Like, don't think Netflix is waiting until 2050 to get in bed with the NFL. Like, it's coming as the first chance they get, they're going to take it.
yeah, and I've said this before. I'll say it here, and just what we talked about. The NFL obviously is king for viewership, but I would be careful about getting in bed with just the streamers and ruining these broadcast networks. Now, they might be ruined on their own. There might be nothing you can do. But the NFL and Roger Goodell and Brian Roloff, they have the most power in terms of keeping legacy media going and where the media goes. Like their deals, the NBA is second probably, but the idea of watching shows on network TV is long gone, even for older people. Again, maybe there's a couple, but the idea of watching Murder, She Wrote at 8 o'clock on a Sunday is...
I think it's CSI now. I don't think Murder, She
whatever
Wrote.
it is. But the point being is that if you're going to watch a show, you watch it on Netflix. Even a show that's on one of these networks, you watch it later on Netflix or one of your other streamers. So that's gone. So what do you have? You have sports and news. And they might be able to create it. I think it's pretty important if you're long-term that if you can keep ESPN alive and ABC and NBC and CBS and Fox, that's really advantageous for the NFL because the thing that happens now, they look, let's play your scenario out. Let's say for this argument, they opt out, Netflix comes in, they double the price, they take it for 10 years. That's a great 10 years. 10 years from then, and again, you do have to think about this, your NFL. If Netflix is just sitting there, are they doubling again? Are they going to stay there? Or are they going to say at that point, we're Netflix, we don't really need the NFL. Where are you going? There's no broadcast networks. Now, there could be other streamers. Google, YouTube could get involved.
Right. Apple.
But, so you could have that leverage, but you're not guaranteed that. Like Apple, maybe they get it eventually, but they've been kind of waiting for the prices to go down. So I don't know. They don't
I
seem
think between Apple and Amazon and Google, they'll have enough.
See, that's the difference, though, Jimmy. We're doing a podcast. If you're Roger Goodell and Brian Roloff, and we just talked about Manfred's situation with baseball, you can't think. You have to know. And I think you're taking a big risk. I'm not saying you don't get them involved, but if you ask me where Netflix maybe makes a big run, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. The international package seems too small. Maybe they take a bite there if they come out with that in the next year or two for 10 games, because I don't think that won't be like a 16-game schedule. I think they'll put 6 games. Like, one of the games, the international games, will end up on Sunday night because it's Australia. They'll figure out the time difference, and they'll divvy them up that way. Those other 6, but maybe a new 10-game package international. So, So to answer your I think we agree. I think everyone knows everything's going to digital and streaming. I mean, the whole world's going that way.
Right.
So I don't think, but I'm not sure it's happening in 2030 though.
We'll make it right here.
Yeah. What do you think it will?
Yeah, I do.
You think? Wait, hold on a second. You're saying afternoon package will be on Netflix in 2030?
I'm not saying. I'm saying there will be an afternoon package. Listen, the NFL could get very creative. They could keep CBS and Fox and give them 1 o'clock games. Netflix can get a 4:25 pack. They can get creative with how they do it. Now, listen, I don't want to sit here and say, okay, I guarantee 1,000% Netflix gets a Sunday afternoon package because, like you said, they could get Sunday Night Football, they could get Monday Night Football, but they will have some sort of package. And if they had a 1 o'clock package, a 4 o'clock package, I wouldn't be surprised even 1%. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I think Netflix is getting involved. Once people get a taste of the NFL, they get addicted. They got a taste. They're trying to get their advertising business going. And
the NFL had to be thrilled. They were getting 23, 24 million for 2 completely unwatchable games on Christmas Day.
That said, though,
the second game wasn't even competitive.
If they were on broadcast, they would have got another 7-8 million people.
So, yeah, right, exactly. But by 2030, streaming is just going to add more people, and broadcast is just going to keep losing more people.
Broadcast, I don't know about. Cable, yes.
You think in 5 years broadcast is going to have the same amount of people they have now?
Well, if people understood broadcast, they would, because it's actually free if you to watch broadcast TV. But people don't really get some of the stuff.
You're talking like someone who's our age. People under 40, no one's going to have broadcast in.
They don't even know what broadcast
Here's the
is.
problem. This is the problem, not for football as much, but for baseball and basketball. But these kids under 40, they're not watching necessarily. That's
another problem. They're
just watching. I said this years and years ago, and I really think this is the biggest thing. People love to talk about woke or this or that with every sport and all these other things.
Right.
And the biggest thing for the NBA to me is that when we were kids, I probably said this on your podcast before, Michael Jordan played at 1 o'clock on NBC. You wanted to see Michael Jordan do something great, you had to watch at 1 o'clock. If you missed it, maybe you could catch Len Berman on the news at night. He probably didn't work weekends. So Bruce Beck on the news at night on a Saturday night, or you got Sports Center. But you better be there at the top of the hour, because if you missed it, maybe they get a highlight 45 minutes in, but that's it. Now, we don't have to watch. LeBron does something amazing. Joker does something amazing. Just be on your social media in seconds, 15 different ways with different music and all kinds of stuff going on. So that's a problem, because that's where the big money is. The NBA could, they tweeted out about, or they put out about, they had 1 billion social interactions or something, which I immediately read that and said they expect the TV ratings to be terrible, because that's why they're putting that out there. I don't know. You can monetize that stuff a little bit, and you probably can make some. I mean, I believe that if they're, I believe what they say with the 1 billion. I'd hope if you can make 1 cent off of 1 billion, of each of them, you can make some pretty good money. That said, they really make their money and they just got a great TV deal, so they're set for 11 years. So they're in good shape.
Before we wrap it up, I'm gonna just throw this statement out there and see your reaction. And this is not a political take in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to say this. We've had a new president, I guess, for 6 weeks, 7 weeks? Are we going to now really just have 4 straight years of Stephen A. Smith saying he's not going to run, but if people want him to run, he might run? I mean, can we maybe do this like 2.5 years from now? I mean, it's going to be 4 straight years of, I don't want to run, I'm not going to run, but I might run. And it is every day. Like, really? Can we maybe pump the brakes a little?
I mean, I think it will probably eventually die down for a little bit.
Yes, I would hope.
But Stephen A. is in on politics now. He comments a lot on politics. And I don't think it necessarily is part of the master plan for him to run for president.
Exactly.
I just think he's commented on politics. Then, I don't know if it was a fugazi.
Every interview he does, though, and he does a million interviews.
Because the thing that happens is the second they kind of, regardless of what has happened in our politics over the last 20 years or so, and maybe they're always like this, I don't know, I'm not an expert at that, but it is very advantageous to be being thought of as a presidential candidate. Even if it's not going to happen, it's very advantageous for Stephen A. Smith to show up places. And he's talking to athletes, and they're like, well, he might run for president. It's a little different than Stephen A. Smith, just a hot taker on First Take.
Are there any people left in the country who don't want a celebrity as president? Am I the only one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I will say, we don't want to get too deep into this, but yeah, I just want somebody who can do a good job.
I don't blame Stephen A. Smith, because, listen, again, it's like we said before. There's a game here at play. You get Stephen. If you had him on, if I had him on, we'd ask him about running for president, and we'd take the clip and we'd put it on social, and there'd be a headline, and like that's how it works. But every single day, I get endless tweets about what Stephen A. Smith says about running for president when we know he's not going to run for president.
I don't know. I'd say less likely than likely. I don't think it's impossible. I will say the thing that Trump did and got himself in there was just talking a lot, and that's where he, over like 40 years, dating back to being in New York before he was on The Apprentice and all that other stuff. I think that there isn't really, I think when you talk about the current state of what's going on, there's not really somebody who's giving the other side. And Stephen A. And he's developed this over the year and is very good, has a very good delivery. He's interesting to hear. Now, do I think the whole country would want Stephen A. Smith as president. I don't know, but I thought other people would not be someone the whole country would want as president. So I'm not an expert on what the country wants. I think Mark Cuban's also somebody who is very interesting, could be a political, someone who enters.
Again, can we not have
A celebrity be president, but that's just me.
Well, I think when you get to Stephen A., he's never run anything. I mean, that's the other thing. He's only been a talk show host and a writer, sports writer.
I think what you basically did, though, you basically said right now, Jimmy, tough, you're getting 4 years of this. That's basically what you said.
Yes. No, this is not going away. And it's not, why would he?
Right, exactly. Well, because at some point I would hope he would get tired of the nonsense.
He kind of said something the other day where he said, it's embarrassing and people are even considering me that
Okay, good. I like that.
The Democrats they have such a bad roster that I'm even in the running is ridiculous. But I also think, I don't know, it's Stephen A. smart. I'm a little crazy like a fox though, because you start the thing that Trump did very well. You start beating on your own a little bit, which is kind of before was kind of you didn't do that. You didn't say anything bad about. And Stephen A. is sort of pointing out, no, the Democrats, which he presumably would run as a Democrat, he kind of pointing out the issues with their side of things. So I don't think it's impossible. Now I think it's a little too quick. If you ask me, I would say 2032. Jimmy, so you got another. I got to see how old Stephen A. I think Stephen A. is in his 50s, maybe late 50s.
All right. Well,
so you got another.
By then it'll all be over for me, so I don't care at that point.
What do you mean?
I'll need Social Security. That's about it.
You'll be asking Stephen A. for your Social Security.
Yeah, basically. Can you come on my podcast and tell me what's going on with Social Security?
Well, Stephen A. come on your podcast. You'll be complaining about Stephen A. not being able to
lower the egg prices.
Stephen A.'s press secretary will be Josh Krulowitz.
Eggs will be $47 a dozen, and Josh Krulowitz running the daily briefing. Yeah. All right, Andrew, appreciate it as always. Check him out, The Athletic, Substack, his own podcast there twice a week, and of course on Twitter, breaking all the stories. Appreciate it. And take care.
All right, joining me now, as he does every week for our Traina Thoughts segment from WFAN Radio in New York, SNY TV in New York, my buddy Sal Licata. Sal, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, the cold. I know you hate the summer. The cold sucks.
Yeah. See, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. Put on a jacket, go outside, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. It's just so depressing. I'm with you. Like, I'd rather have cold than hot where there's no escape, especially in the city with the subways and all that nastiness. But it has been brutal up here in New York the last several weeks.
Yeah. Listen, the cold does not bother me. The heat bothers me. But obviously, I'm not completely deranged. Like, it would be nice to be able to sit outside or just do anything outside. But you can't, when it's like the way it's been here in New York. Did you watch the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special?
The majority of it, yes.
All right, so
I'm not all the way through yet.
That's going to pretty much be the only thing we talk about. I have one sports item to bring up.
Okay.
Because I have a bone to pick with your owner.
With who?
Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets.
Okay.
I'll tell you what irritates me more than anything, right? Not more than anything, but what severely irritates me in sports. Now, I understand his point. He was complaining that Citi Field, there were a lot of empty seats last year. The team was good. The team was very good in a pennant race, and attendance was a problem. I don't want to hear Steve Cohen or any other, whether it's Hal Steinbrenner, and I don't care what the sport is, NFL, baseball, but don't complain that fans are not going to games when you gouge the hell out of people. That's what you do. You price gouge. I could go, despite inflation, I could go to the supermarket right now and buy a case of water for $4.59. If I go to a baseball game, one bottle is $6. So don't get on fans for not going to the game. It pisses the $45 to park the car. I get it. Your team was good. There should have been more excitement, more people. Don't complain that fans don't go when you are price. I'm not even talking about the tickets because I don't even know what the tickets cost. But you want a hot dog and a beer and you have to take out a loan. So I don't want to hear it.
Right, but here's the thing, and I don't think he was getting on fans for not going. I think he just said he was a little disappointed with.
Well, then don't charge $6 for a bottle of water. People will go.
Right, but here's the thing: they showed up in the postseason for every game. They show up for the Yankees regular season every game. Like, I know what you're saying, and we had this conversation yesterday, like on the radio show, whatever. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this: that ticket prices and cost of going to a game, the parking, it's absurd. But it
that's my only point. That's my only point.
But is that the reason that fans don't show up? I don't think it is.
Well, I think it's too. Well, again, like with anything, there's layers and nuance.
Right.
Regular season baseball is meaningless. So the thought process for the baseball fan, this is not a Met thing. This is for any team. I'll take it as a Yankee fan.
Right.
Do I want to go drop $200? Well, by the time the day is done, if you factor in what it costs to get there, what it costs to get home, a drink, the ticket, whatever it is, what are you getting for $200? A regular season baseball game?
Think about this. The Garden is a different animal. I understand that. But I want to, my daughter, I've been teaching her to get into the Rangers a little bit, right? So she does the Rangers goal song, hey, whatever. So I'm like, hey, you know what would be cool? To actually take her to a game and have her experience that in person potentially. Do you have any idea what it would cost a family of 3 to go see a regular season hockey game?
Well, see, I don't know anything about the ticket prices, so I wouldn't be able to get. I mean, I don't. Does it still? I remember when I used to go to games, it would be down low was the most money, and you get upstairs, and it doesn't cost that much money. But I would imagine even upstairs now is an arm and a leg.
Roughly. Now, look, I could sit in the worst seat in the house, which I'm not going to do for my daughter's first game, just because she's little. Not that I'm above that, but just because she's little, I don't want to be going all the way up and sitting with girls, whatever it may be. But roughly, you're looking at, I would say, $200 a piece, and that's cheap. Basically, it's $250 a piece. So think about that: $250 times 3, plus the food, the drinks, the parking, the getting into the city, plus if you're gonna buy a souvenir, like you're talking about almost $1,000 to go to a regular season hockey game, and that's a family of 3. A lot of times, people are a family of 4 or more. I don't know how you would do a Knicks or Rangers regular season game, no less. And
then you're there, and God forbid your kid wants a souvenir, a shirt, So
that's
why they get shut out and they don't play well. Like that, then that's the cost of going to sporting events is gotten absurd.
Right. If the comment is like, oh, it was a bummer. We turned our season around. We had this great run and people weren't there. Okay, but I don't want to hear any owner in any sport. Because you know why? These owners are so, and this is not a Steve Cohen thing. This is across the board. Owners are completely out of touch because the owners are billionaires. So what you just said, they can't even relate to what you just, they're like, oh, $1,000 for a game. That's like $1 to us.
Right.
Well, I will never forget, because I haven't gone to games in a while. But when I was still going to games, and like what finished me off from ever wanting to go to games, baseball games specifically, was when I went to Yankee Stadium. And it was $40 to $5 to park the car. That was the one that finished me off. And I know people always say, like, that's not the Yankees, that's the parking garage. If the Yankees wanted to have a parking garage with a reasonable price, they could do it, okay? And the concessions, they say that's not the Yankees, that's the company that provides it. The Yankees could do it if they want to. Because aren't the Falcons the team that kept the concessions at like a ridiculously low price?
Yeah, Arthur Blank did that when they opened the new stadium, I believe.
So it can be done. So save your tweets and your emails because it can be done. All right. I have a lot to say about this Saturday Night Live thing. I guess the majority of people didn't love it.
Huh.
That's the vibe I get. And humor is obviously subjective. So if someone didn't think it was funny, they don't think it's funny. There's nothing, that's it. But I'm surprised more people didn't have an appreciation for sort of just the nostalgia of it. Like the show closed with a skit with Will Ferrell and Eddie Murphy together in it. Now, whether you think the skit is funny or not, I mean, I did, and they were breaking up and all that stuff. Like, You've never seen Will Ferrell and Eddie Murphy on stage together anywhere. Like, there was something to that. So I watched the whole thing. Did I laugh my ass off? No. Did I think it was no. But did I enjoy it? Yes. So I don't know. I think people just don't like things.
I am actually surprised to hear you say that, because just from the sense that I got, and again, I'm not diving into it the way that you did, maybe trying to get research on the feel of it. I felt from afar that it was received positively.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
That's how I felt. And then
right.
I wasn't watching it that night. I forget what the hell I was doing, whatever. I watched a little bit of it. I saw some of the clips, and then I made a point the last couple of nights to go back and watch in its entirety. And I'm about, I'd say, a half hour, maybe how long was it? 2.5 hours? 3 hours?
3.5 hours.
So I may still have an hour and a half to go, I think. But I've seen a lot of the stuff. I mean, I think it's like a Saturday Night Live episode. Some of the episodes I find stupid. Some of them I find very enjoyable. I love the nostalgia aspect of it. I like a certain window. Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy, any of that stuff. The Sandler stuff, although I didn't think Sandler was I thought Sandler's Chris Farley song was far better when he hosted years ago than this one. I thought it was good.
Well, but this is a different topic. He had to do a 50th anniversary song.
Understood, but I'm saying like the emotional part, like it didn't get me the way that it did the others. I thought it was good.
Right. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I know you loved it. There was a lot, and I'm a big Sandler guy. You know that. You've seen the Chris Farley song, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But so there was a lot of I enjoyed point is I enjoyed it. I find
right. That's how I felt.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, Eddie Murphy doing Tracy Morgan while standing next to Tracy. Now that skit ended up crashing because for some reason they took Eddie out of it and they put Tom Hanks into it, and it just completely fell flat. But that was unbelievable.
But I guess the Tom Hanks. Wasn't that, I didn't know this, but wasn't that an old character that he...
Yeah, again, we go through this. Like, I don't want to have to figure out, like, what are you doing? Just make me laugh, please.
Okay.
Just put Eddie Murphy on stage and let him talk. How about that?
I mean,
just put him on stage and let him talk.
The star power was phenomenal. It was cool to see... who the hell is the musical act that opened with Sabrina Carpenter?
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon. Yeah, it was cool to see him. And, like, you know, I thought it was... I liked it. I enjoyed it so far.
I was at a Billy Joel concert once where Paul Simon was the musical guest. The surprise guest, I mean.
And
surprise guest.
You like that?
It was fine. It's not my cup of tea.
Better than Kevin James?
Better than Kevin James. But not, I like my music with a little more pep.
I just thought it was cool. I don't necessarily. I love Martin Short. I love.
I thought Bill Murray was tremendous during the news with the ranking of the
weekend updates. I thought that was excellent. I will say that I like Kevin Nealon. I know he's not a major star, but
no, he's great on that show.
Yeah, I loved him on that show, and I don't feel like I got enough of him. But whatever. I mean,
I mean, Robert De Niro strangling Debbie Downer. Did you get to that part yet?
I don't think so. I've not seen that yet.
It was, I mean, it was tremendous. What I didn't like was they had Jerry, Larry, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus there. I needed some interaction between the three. We got nothing.
I know. I saw your tweet about that. The last skit I think I saw was Mike Myers' return. I'm getting
coffee talk. Coffee talk.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so good. Like, I love that.
I went back and watched a bunch of old stuff after this. And I watched a bunch of Wayne's World skits. That was so underrated, Wayne's World. It was so good.
Yeah.
Do you remember the thing they did with Madonna when she makes out with Wayne and Garth is like all scared and nervous?
I don't.
And like they just keep saying like, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. She's like, all right, we know you're not worthy. I don't know, but that skit. Dana Carvey, that was my biggest disappointment. There was no Dana Carvey on Sunday. He wasn't there.
Did you see why? I read that today.
No.
He had bad flu.
Oh, I did not know that.
I just read that today. I think that was in the Post this morning that he didn't show up because he had really bad flu. That does suck.
Probably, I mean, it's an impossible list to do. He would definitely be top 10. I'm trying to think if he'd be top 5 for me. because he was so great with all the political stuff, like George Bush and all that stuff, and the church lady, Wayne's World.
Ross Perot, not gonna do it. Not gonna.
Yeah. I don't. He's definitely top 10. I would probably squeeze him in my top 5, maybe.
Who's your top?
I know,
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you got? You have a top 3, top 5?
Oh God. I mean, you have to put Phil Hartman in that top 5. I think.
Wow, he wouldn't make my cut, but I liked him.
Will Ferrell. I'll give you my all-time favorite female cast member, and I think she's the most underrated person in the history of that show. Sherry O'Terry.
See, you like that.
People love Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I think Sherry O'Terry is better than both of them.
I like Molly Shannon a lot. She's
great.
Yeah. But don't you think it's just a matter of? I met her once, by the way. Rang her up when I was working at King Cullen in Bridgehampton. She forgot something and she came back, and then I was like, Mary Catherine Gallagher, and she was very nice. Her friends were looking for their glasses. I was like, I don't know where they are, but I loved you.
So was she on the show at the time of this encounter?
This was probably, actually she might have been, because this had to be late 90s, like 97 through 99 maybe.
How did I never hear this story before? This is unbelievable.
Because this predates our relationship, so why would it ever come up, I guess. But I rang. I used to work in the summer. They would send us out to the busy Home Depot. Busy King Cullen. So I remember Malcolm Jamal Warner. Rang him up. He signed a receipt for me. He was cool. Molly Shannon. There was some other ones in there too. I forget, but those two were the most prominent.
Wow, those are 2 good ones.
Anyway, so I feel like don't you think it's just a matter of you? Like, I love Farley, Sandler, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, like.
Well, yeah, Mike Myers would have to be. My top 5 has 30 people on it. Like Mike Myers has to be in my top 5.
Right. Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Phil Hartman, Eddie Murphy.
You know, he was only on for a year, but you know who was great was Billy Crystal.
Yes, I don't remember that, though.
Right.
Did you remember that, or you?
Yes. But I remember when I was in high school, it was sort of the peak, because it was Sandler and Carvey and Mike Myers and the Victoria Jackson and that cast.
Norm, we should mention Norm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I love Norm.
I could never do a top 5. But I love Dana Carvey. That's my so like I know people were mad that like Chevy Chase didn't do a skit and Dan Aykroyd wasn't there, Bill Hader wasn't there. The only one that really got to me was Dana Carvey, but now you're telling me he had the flu, which everyone seems to have, so can't do anything about it. I understand it. Did you watch the musical thing on the Friday night? It was Valentine's Day, so you probably didn't. I watched it the next morning. There was a concert on Friday night.
No. Is that the same thing that's on Peacock? Like there was a special about it?
It's on. No. There's a special about the history of music on SNL.
No, I got to see that. Can I watch
And then
that?
on Friday night was an actual concert at Radio City Music Hall where they had Post Malone play with Nirvana.
No. I did hear
Miley Cyrus, Jelly Roll, Backstreet Boys. Who else was there?
Was it good?
Yeah, very good.
Oh, okay.
It's
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
My entire weekend was SNL. That was my entire. I mean, there's no sports. What am I going to watch?
Why Sunday night? Just a better TV night?
Why did they do it on Sunday night?
Yeah. It's Saturday Night Live. They're going to do 50th anniversary on Sunday.
Well, they're not going to do a 3.5-hour special on 11:30 on Saturday. Yeah, because Sunday's the most watched day of the week.
Fair enough. But, I mean, it's kind of odd that a show that has been successful for 50 years called Saturday Night Live aired its special on Sunday. It'd be like Super Bowl Sunday airing on Saturday.
I've got to say that never once crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Because I just know, like, Sunday night is like the special night whenever there's, award shows or whatever.
I get it.
I have to tell you this before we do anything else. My hatred of Twitter is at an all-time high.
What happened?
And I used to say, like, I don't want something to go out of business because I don't want people to lose their jobs. I actually hope it goes out of business now. I tweeted a video from the 50th anniversary special where Jerry Seinfeld and his wife were on the red carpet with Larry David.
I saw.
And some photographer or videographer, whatever you call it, asked Larry to do a pose, and Larry just waved his hand and walked away. Okay? Tweet the video out. And again, 99% of the people, like I'm looking at it now, 15,000 likes, 811 retweets. So that's like a good number. I had probably blocked 100 people off of that tweet.
Why?
All these people calling Jerry Seinfeld a pedophile.
Oh, God.
And anti-Palestine. Like, it's so out of control that I actually hope it goes out of business now.
Yeah. I come on now. I mean,
and the most anti-Semitic replies you could imagine. Because Larry and Jerry are Jewish. I hope it goes out of business. I really do.
I hate to say this, but certain people just shouldn't have a voice. And that's the problem. Like, social media has exposed a lot of negatives, a lot of hate, a lot of bigotry.
It's off the charts. It's off the charts.
I'm not saying that stuff doesn't exist. Obviously it does, but social media makes it
Right.
much more visible.
But it's the concept to me of, because the replies were coming from people who don't even follow me. So can you imagine, think about if you did this. You see a tweet from someone who you don't know, never heard of, don't follow, and you reply to that tweet to tell that person they're an idiot for liking something. Like, it's such sociopathic behavior. I can't even wrap my brain around it. It's just awful. It's awful. All right. Now let's get to you, Sal. How's the eye doing?
It's okay. Actually, got to take another drop. It's been 3 weeks actually to the day, which it feels like it's been longer ago. 3 weeks ago today, I had the right eye cataract surgery.
And when are we getting the left eye chopped up?
1 week from today.
1 week from today.
I can't wait to be done with it. The problem is, like, the good eye now is still not 100%. And the daily maintenance, the first week is like 4 different drops 4 times a day. Now it's 2 different drops 3 times a day. So we're dwindling down. But now after next week, I'm going to have the whole thing start over again with the left eye. And I can't work out. I got to be limited. So, like, really, this is like a 2-month plus recovery to get. Plus, right now I'm seeing like 2. Like, my left eye's cloudy, my right eye is good, which gives me a little bit of headaches. It's not been. I've been okay, but it's not ideal, obviously.
So I guess you can't tape on Wednesday next week.
I will be out next week.
Oh, you're off next week, right? You texted me. You're Sal will not be here next week. Would you like to tell the people why you'll not be here next week?
So aside from surgery, which is going to be on a Wednesday, normally then we can maybe tape on a Tuesday. But I am doing the Disney vacation trip into eye surgery. Parlay.
Oh, baby. Sal in Disney World. A content bonanza for the podcast. Oh, you're going to be so miserable. I can't wait.
It's already started. We're going for Saturday, Sunday. We're going for 3 days. And my wife is telling me she wants to take 2 big pieces of luggage. I'm like, it's 3 days. You're going to be at the park for 2 days. Like, it shouldn't be this hard. You don't need 2 things of luggage.
When are you going? Saturday?
We're leaving Saturday morning, yeah.
What time's the flight?
I got to check. I think like 10 something. Not that early.
10 a.m. Saturday. And when are you back?
We come back Tuesday.
Tuesday? What time?
I'm not I think we leave there like 9 a.m., something like that.
Oh, 9 a.m. Okay, so you're there Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 3 full days.
No, well, Sunday we get in Sunday we get in probably 1. So
I said Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 3 full days.
Right. Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday, Monday, come back Tuesday. Yeah.
You're going to be so miserable. But really, this is really the only time you could do it, because once baseball starts, I mean, you host a baseball show. Like, you can't.
No, I can't. This is it. This is why I have to jam everything, including 2 eye surgeries and a vacation, into the month of February, because can't do it during football season, can't do it during baseball season. You got February. So vacations are easy. Eye surgeries, multiple, and a vacation is not so easy.
What are you looking forward to the least about this trip?
That's a good question.
Goddamn right it is.
I would probably say, like, I actually, truth be told, I'm excited about it because I want to go. It was my idea because I want to take my daughter to see the Muppet 3D Vision ride, which is going away in June. Otherwise, we could have punted this to next year. We can't because it's not going to be there, and I want her to experience that because I raised her on the Muppet. She loves it. I would guess just the travel and, like, dealing with that, you know, the bags, the stroller, the lines, like, you know, those are the...
You didn't get the fast pass?
We will have some sort of access, yeah, like that. I think I got to go over all the details, but yeah.
Do you have your butler driving you to the airport?
Mitchell. No, Mitchell and Fort Lee. Actually, not yet. I'm going to be flying out of MacArthur Airport, so I got to go because on the way back we got to leave Sammy, our daughter, with my mom because of the eye surgery.
Got it.
So instead of having mom in Jersey for a week, we leave her there this time, and then, you know, she's at least mom's on her home field. Doesn't feel.
I mean, I know you don't have a trip. I'm looking at the video of this. I need it. I'm so white. I gotta get a tan. The planning of this is bad for this from this standpoint. You've got 3 days there in Disney: Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You come home Tuesday. Wednesday, you get the eye surgery, cataract surgery. You don't have a minute of Sal time here. There's not a minute. Then you're gonna end up going back to work. You're gonna be.
I'll be out sick Thursday, or, you know, out with the recovery Thursday, Friday. Then we have Saturday, Sunday, a little bit, you know, and then right back into it, and then that's it. March, Big East tournament, March Madness, opening day, and away we go. See you Memorial Day.
Big East tournament. That's what we're hanging on to.
Oh, St. John's have been good. I mean, that's going to be a big thing for us locally. No, put it this way: no time off in March.
No time off in February. Disney ain't time off. You're going to be struggling. Oof. All right, so we will not have Sal on the pod next week, but my God, the week after should be a doozy. Should be a doozy. It is a great time to go. I mean, there's just nothing going on. It's
I know.
Need
baseball.
Yeah, I
Get
know.
baseball going, and March, man. You need the tournament to start, and you need baseball here. You got to get to that second, third week in March.
That's what I'm saying. A couple weeks away. So now, you know, a little Disney trip, some eye surgery that gets us into March.
All right, Sal. Enjoy the rides. Enjoy the lines. See you in 2 weeks.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
All right. My many, many thanks to Andrew Marchand. My thanks to Sal Licata. My thanks to you for listening. If you missed any recent episodes of SI Media with Jimmy Traina, dip into the archives, check those out. And please, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It's very important. And if you leave a review on Apple, that helps as well. All right. That wraps it up. We'll see you next week. Stay safe.